Hello, today we're going to make this happy shaker card. This is just a quick overview of the design space, design that I've created and how it goes together. The grey is the acetate, the white with the score mark is the card base, the two happies are the obvious openings, the small white rectangle is the back of the shaker. I cut 5 of the black happies and 3 of the black 30s and just 1 of the white happy to lay over the top. Now I'm just going to glue together my 30s just because I'm going to cover them with some glossy accents just to give them that shine and make them even more 3D. So I'm just gluing and stacking them together to give a bit more dimension. This card uses no foam, and I won't take the credit for this idea. The credit, I actually saw Kristina Warner make a similar card and thought I would try and recreate it. I'm now just covering these numbers with some glossy accents by Ranger so that they will almost be dry, just dry enough to handle by the time I've finished assembling the rest of the card. You can always do this when they're attached to the card. I prefer to do them before they're attached, just in case I make a mistake and need to recut them. I've put on quite a thick layer and I'm just using the nozzle to spread it around just to make sure every little bit is covered and they end up nice and shiny as it dries. Now I've popped them to one side and we're going to start building our shaker. So as I said, I have 5 layers of the black cardstock and 1 of the white. Depends on how thick or thin your cardstock is. You can always change this up. Mine was 270 GSM. Now I'm just adding some glue around the openings, as close as I can get it really. It isn't too important at this point, but you do want it quite close so none of those shaker bits get stuck in any gaps that are left. And you'll see the reason why I'm using black as the shaker is created. So I've repeated that for all of those. Now I'm going in super close to the edges, as close as I can possibly get. I'm also using Barely Arts glue in the Nuvo glue bottle, the empty bottle that came with my Sweet Petunia glue press. Now I'm just going around the outside edge. You don't have to get too close to the outside edge because the acetate isn't quite as big as the happies. And also your white happy, keep the insides of your A and your P's because I will fit those in later. And pop in the part that you will see over the top to cover up that mess behind this, and you can see it's quite thick. It's going to give the chance for bits to move. And I'm sure you can see here, as you look through the openings of those letters, you can see the black. So it gives just a little bit more dimension. Now I'm using the letters that were cut out as templates for where to put the inside parts of those letters. You can freehand it, but I just like to have them in the right place. Once again with the Barely Arts glue. And just popping those centres in. Push them down just to make sure they're adhered, and then pop out gently the letters to leave the centres in the correct place. Just clearing up a little bit of glue there that's managed to squeeze its way out. And I pop that aside and put something heavy on it. And I'm just using a grip mat from Alter New to hold my back of my shaker in place. And I started out with Lost Shadow Distress Oxide, but it really wasn't giving the effect I wanted. It wasn't quite dark enough. So I don't know why I continued trying. But as you can see, I did keep trying. So I finally gave up on that and went in with a blue Distress Oxide. I can't remember the name of it. And I've got a flat blending brush here, just 'cause it's a bit easier on my wrist. And just blending that all over. Just trying to keep it a little bit lighter at the top and darker towards the bottom, so that you get that gradient as you look through the letters. Just trying to blend them edges together a little bit. Ink blending isn't my forte, so Luckily enough, I don't want it to be perfect. I then grab my spray bottle and put droplets of water all over the card. As you can see with the Distress Oxide, the water reacts with it and you can lift the colour away. Just wanted to give it a bit of texture back there. I love the effect that gives when you spray water onto Distress Oxide and Distress ink. Now I'm just lining that up, making sure that the colour looks good through the openings. And grabbing some shaker bits to put into my shaker. I'm going to flip it over. And I first thought I'd put some colour into it, but I didn't like it. So I didn't like that, so I tipped those out. And I went in with these clay little cloud pieces from Pink Fresh Studio. I thought with the blue background, some clouds would look good. And keep that very simple colour scheme. Make sure all the bits are in so that when we place that blue inked background on, it all fits nice and snugly. And going once again with our liquid glue as close to the edges as possible. Actually picked up the wrong glue. Really trying to keep tight to those edges. Just to make sure none of those shaker bits can escape. And just filling in the gaps and going around the outside edge to make sure everything is glued down securely. making sure that's glued on properly and pushing down hard, making sure everything's lined up. I am now using liquid glue and some tape runner to glue the shaker portion to our card base. My card base is made from 320 GSM card, so it's nice and sturdy and will hold the weight of the shaker panel on the front. Now gently grabbing those numbers that I prepared earlier and try not to move any of the glossy accents. It is pretty dry, but I don't want to risk messing them up. Putting them as askew to make it a little bit more interesting, and there we go. As you can see, the black through the sides of the letters, with the clouds moving around, and the 30 there. I will add a link to this design in my design space. I've also added banners that can also be used to replace the 30.